He was a billionaire CEO who stayed single for 30 years, until one innocent maid shattered every rule he ever lived by. But what happens when her kiss becomes his addiction and her past becomes his biggest threat? Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to this channel for more heart-stopping stories. For 30 years, Alexander Knight, the cold, unreadable CEO, known across the city as the Diamond King, lived behind walls so high that no rumor, no emotion, and certainly no love had ever climbed over them. And even his employees whispered that he was cursed, unable to love, untouchable, unreachable, until the night an innocent maid named Alara Hale stepped trembling into his marble office to deliver teak, unaware that her presence would ignite a chain of secrets, betrayals, miracles, and obsessions that would destroy everything he believed about himself. It began quietly, almost silently, when she tripped while placing the cup on his desk, her fingers brushing his by accident, and for the first time in 30 years, Alexander felt his pulse stutter, a foreign warmth shooting through him like a shot of electricity he didn't know he'd been starving for. And though he tried to hide his reaction, Alara, naive, gentle, and painfully sincere, noticed his sudden stiffness and apologized in a voice that trembled with both fear and something he couldn't name. But her innocence only drew him deeper, haunting him late at night when he lay awake staring at the city lights, wondering why the scent of jasmine, the scent she carried on her skin, wouldn't leave him alone. Alexander tried to avoid her, but fate kept pushing their paths together, in elevators, hallways, even during high-profile board meetings where she'd appear quietly to replace flowers or dust shelves. And every time their eyes met, he felt something inside him crack, until one stormy evening when the power went out across the building and Alexander, trapped on the 34th floor, found Alara kneeling to gather fallen cleaning supplies, her hair dripping from the rain she'd been caught in earlier. And without thinking, he lifted her chin to ask if she was all right. But the moment their eyes locked, her lip quivered and the smallest, softest kiss brushed against his cheek. A kiss she later tried to explain away as a reflex of fear in the dark. But that single, accidental kiss became his undoing. The moment his 30-year emotional drought shattered, awakening something fierce, possessive, desperate inside him, something he didn't understand, something he couldn't control. From that night onward, Alexander could think of nothing but her shy smile, her trembling voice, the way she clutched her apron when nervous. And he found himself inventing excuses to see her, walking through maintenance halls, timing his coffee breaks to match her cleaning schedule. And every time she greeted him with her innocent eyes and soft voice saying, "Good evening, sir," his chest felt like it was collapsing into itself. Alara tried to keep distance, knowing a maid should not even dream of standing near a man of his power. But Alexander's presence was like gravity, silent, unescapable, pulling her closer with every passing day. Until one evening she found him waiting alone in the deserted kitchen, leaning against the counter with that impossible intensity in his eyes. And when she asked why he was there, he answered with a raw honesty that left her breathless. "I needed to see you." Startled, she dropped the dishes in her hands, but before they could shatter on the floor, Alexander caught her wrist, and the moment he touched her skin, some unseen thread between them snapped, dragging them into an intimacy neither had planned. He lifted her trembling face and kissed her, not with the precision or coldness people associated with him, but with a hunger that scared even him, a hunger that deepened when she melted into the kiss, shy yet desperately longing. And from that moment, Alexander became addicted, not to her smile, not to her presence, but to her kiss, the one thing in the world that made him feel alive. Their secret meetings continued in shadows, stolen kisses in stairwells, whispered conversations in the deserted rooftop garden, moments so fragile and tender that Alexander began fearing how much power this innocent girl held over him. But the deeper he fell, the more secrets unraveled around Alara. Strange men lurking outside the company, anonymous letters left on his desk warning him to keep away from the maid, and, most disturbing of all, the discovery that Alara was using a fake identity, something he stumbled upon when he personally checked her employee file and found discrepancies that made his stomach drop. Heart-pounding, he confronted her one night during their secret rooftop meeting, demanding the truth, and she broke down, confessing a story so tragic it nearly brought the merciless CEO to his knees. She had run away from a dangerous family whose criminal empire she refused to be part of, a family that controlled half the city's underground market and had marked her for death when she tried to escape their world. She changed her name, hidden in small jobs, moved from town to town, praying no one would find her. But she made one fatal mistake. She came to work in the tallest building owned by the man her family hated most, Alexander Knight, because his company's anti-crime investigations were slowly dismantling their illegal businesses. Suddenly, everything made sense. The warnings, the shadows, her fear of people, the trembling in her voice whenever he got too close to the truth. And though she begged Alexander to fire her, to let her disappear again so she wouldn't drag him into danger, Alexander refused, promising with a fierce, emotional intensity she'd never seen in him that he would protect her, even if it meant risking everything he owned, everything he built, even his own life. But fate was never kind, not to them. And one night, as Alexander returned home, his car was ambushed, and masked men dragged him out, delivering a message drenched in terror: "Give us the girl or lose everything," leaving him bloodied but alive, yet more determined than ever to keep Alara safe. Without hesitation, he moved her into his penthouse, where she slept in the guest room, trembling every night from nightmares of her past. And though Alexander kept his distance at first, one night he found her crying silently, curled on the floor, whispering that she didn't want to cause anyone harm. And he held her tightly, stroking her hair, whispering that she was the only good thing that had ever happened to him. Their bond deepened emotionally, spiritually, impossibly, until Alexander realized he wasn't just addicted to her kiss anymore. He was addicted to her existence, to the way she made him humane, soft, alive. But the nightmare wasn't over, because Alara's family wasn't just powerful, they were everywhere. And when she disappeared one morning, leaving only a broken bracelet on the kitchen floor, Alexander felt something inside him die. He launched a citywide search, mobilizing private investigators, security forces, even shutting down business operations just to find her. And after 48 sleepless hours, he located her in an abandoned warehouse where she'd been tied up by her own brother, the heir to the crime empire, who taunted Alexander by saying that Alara belonged to their world, not his, and that Alexander's love was nothing more than a weakness to exploit. Fueled by pure desperation, Alexander fought to free her, taking a bullet in the shoulder but refusing to fall. And in that chaotic moment of violence and emotional collapse, Alara broke her silence, standing between the gun and Alexander, begging her brother to stop, declaring that she would rather die than return to their world. Her brother hesitated, something in her eyes, something in the trembling strength of her voice. But their father's order was absolute: bring her back or kill her. And as he raised the gun again, Alexander shielded her with his own body, and in that split second before the shot fired, reinforcements burst into the warehouse, his security team and police, saving them both. Her brother was arrested, the criminal empire exposed, and for the first time in her life, Alara was free. Alexander collapsed from blood loss, and she stayed by his side for hours in the hospital, kissing his hand, crying prayers she hadn't spoken in years, promising that if he survived, she would never hide from him again. Days later, when he finally woke up, his first word was her name, and she threw herself into his arms, realizing she loved him with a depth that terrified her but healed her at the same time. The world was shocked when Alexander Knight, the CEO who stayed single for 30 years, walked into a press conference with a small, fragile-looking maid by his side, announcing she was the woman he loved, the woman he would protect with his life. And though the world judged, whispered, doubted, nothing mattered, because when she cupped her face later that night and kissed him, whispering that she was her miracle, her home, her freedom, Alexander knew the truth. He wasn't cursed. He was saved. Saved by the girl whose kiss broke the chains around his heart. Saved by the love he never believed he deserved. Saved by an innocent maid who turned out to be stronger, braver, and more miraculous than anyone he had ever known. And from that day on, he made a promise he would never break. Your kiss may have undone me, Alara, but your love rebuilt me.